Alright, we're on. Hey, I just want to check in with you guys again after that first and last video up until this point. The passport video, where I had just gotten out of the post office applying for a new passport as a state national. Some pretty big stuff is going on. I got my passport and passport card in since that date. I didn't really get everything that I wanted out of applying for it, although from what I can tell, I am a U.S. national via the Department of State. My passport card came with 3 stars on it, as opposed to 4 or 5 that I was hoping for. I think that has to do with a couple of things. One, I didn't send in an authenticated birth certificate, which has to do with the U.S. being involved in the Hague Convention. They use certified documents here. And it's a different authentication process for countries that didn't participate in the Hague Convention. So to completely remove yourself out and be foreign in that way, you need to send in an authenticated birth certificate. So that's one reason that I may have gotten a lower amount of stars than I wanted. And the other probably has to do with existing contracts that I still have in place that say U.S. citizen. So Social Security Administration and driver's license are the ones that I really would venture to say that has to do with. So yeah, anyway, that's where that sits right now. I'm fine with the 3-star passport. I don't need much more up until this point, but I'm just like making my way down this path, and so that's kind of where it sits right now. Following up on that video even more, why am I doing this? I wrote some things down here. I submitted several different forms that day to the county clerk and recorder, all serving different purposes. One main reason is to change the effect as to whether the court systems and the federal administrative agencies see me. What I've done is remove myself from their jurisdiction by solidifying the fact that I'm a non-citizen national and not a U.S. citizen. This happened through my filing out of the Department of State's DS-11 form, application for a U.S. passport in a certain way, and attaching an explanatory statement to it, which is a form they say you're allowed to file with the DS-11. On my explanatory statement, I talked about how I have created my own nation within my trust. Not the SSK Trust, Cameron Allen Prickett, but another private trust that I've created. And so, yeah, I submitted that application and filed onto the public record documents claiming to be a non-citizen national through the Administrative Procedures Act of 1946. The receiving party has 45 days to rebut any claims or statements made in the document or affidavits. Otherwise, the claim stands as truth in law and commerce. In the original video, I mentioned that I'd be removing myself from having any tax liability as well. And I wanted to go over some case law and legal citations to verify that claim. It was said in a court case, unless the defendant can prove he is not a U.S. citizen of the United States, the IRS has the right to inquire and determine a tax liability. U.S. versus Slater, 545, Federal, imagine Supplemental Papers, 179, 182. And that court case was from 1982. Again, I'll read it. Unless the defendant can prove he is not a U.S. citizen of the United States, unless he can prove he is not a citizen of the United States, the IRS has the right to inquire and determine a tax liability. So I will now be able to prove that I'm not a citizen of the United States and therefore won't have any tax liability as far as the IRS is concerned. And then on top of that, a statement from a U.S. Treasury Disclosure Officer, Cynthia J. Millis. She said, the IRC, which is the Internal Revenue Code, is not positive law. It is a special law applicable to specific persons in the United States who choose to make themselves subject to the requirements of special laws in the IRC by entering into an employment agreement with the U.S. government. So you're like, okay, well, I don't work for the U.S. government. Well, in law, you may. Actually, you may not be a federal employee in Washington, D.C., but we'll just review some other laws that may say you are. 29 U.S. Code, subsection 630F, says the term employee means an individual employed by an employer, except that the term employee shall not include any person elected to public office in any state or political subdivision of any state by the qualified voters thereof, or any person chosen by such officer to be on such officer's personal staff or an appointee on the policymaking level, an immediate advisor with respect to exercise of the constitutional or legal powers of the office. The exemption set forth in the preceding sentence shall not include employees subject to the civil service laws of a state government, governmental agency, or political subdivision. The term employee, this is the kicker right here, the term employee includes an individual who is a citizen of the United States employed by an employer in a workplace in a foreign country. Well, you say, well, I'm not in a foreign country. Well, it also says right here in Corpus Juris Secundum, the United States government is a foreign corporation with respect to a state. So it could be the state that you're living in. A state defined, lowercase, a state is a political division of a body of people that occupies a territory defined by frontiers. The state is sovereign in its territory, also referred to as jurisdiction, and has the authority to enforce a system of rules over the people living inside it. Alright, that's a lot of stuff. If you have questions on any of that, please reach out. But I'm just going to keep diving into some more stuff here. Some things that you may not be aware of if you're just new to this information is a few definitions which you may have been deceived on, a few words which you may have been deceived on. You may use the word and you may think you know what it means, but in legal terms it's defined differently. When I heard a guy that I follow, he called it semantic deceit, which really struck home with me. That's exactly what the U.S. government is using to overthrow and usurp the people of this country. So anyway, person is one of the big ones that comes to mind. In the U.S. Code, Chapter 1 says right here the definition, the words person, quote unquote, the words person and whoever includes corporations, companies, associations, firms, partnerships, societies, and joint stock companies, as well as individuals. So what you might identify with there is an individual, and you're listed last there. So something to think about. After that, we're going to go on to define United States, because you fill out many forms in your life, and you may check that you are a United States citizen, or you may check that you are a U.S. person. All of these things could be construed in a certain way that you may not be aware of. So, United States, defined in 28 U.S.C. subsection 3002, part 15, says, quote, United States means a federal corporation, an agency, department, commission, board, or other entity of the United States, or an instrumentality of the United States. So you say, well, how do I live in a federal corporation? It's a great question. Let's go on to define U.S. person. 31 U.S.C. 594.315. The term United States person or U.S. person means any United States citizen, permanent resident alien, entity organized under the laws of the United States, including foreign branches, or any person in the United States. So there we've just defined person and the United States. The United States as a federal corporation and person as a corporation. So the United States is a person. How can you be a person inside of a person? Unless you're a child in a womb. Okay, well now it's starting to get interesting. In Chapter 1 of the U.S. Code, subsection 3, we're going to define vessel. Vessel, as including all means of water transportation. Well, if you're in a womb, you're in water. The word vessel includes every description of watercraft or other artificial contrivance used or capable of being used as a means of transportation on water. So they're misconstruing you as a person to be a vessel, and we'll get into that later. Some more definitions here. 42 U.S.C. 9102, or 9102. United States citizen means a. Any individual who is a citizen of the United States by law, birth, or naturalization. So there's 3 ways you can become a U.S. citizen. There is a lot more to the definition, but this is the only section we need to cover this. That was written by someone else. I copied this definition off of a guy's website, Brandon-Joe Williams. You'll have to check him out. He is on top of it with all this information. Thanks, Brandon. You're killing it. So yeah, United States citizen. Any individual who is a citizen of the United States by law, birth, or naturalization. So you've had to do with one of those. Either you were born here, you were naturalized, or you legally became a U.S. citizen. Another definition pertaining to all this. 18 U.S.C. Code, subsection 9, vessel of the United States. The term vessel of the United States means a vessel belonging in whole or in part to the United States, or any citizen thereof, or any corporation created by or under the laws of the United States, or of any state, territory, district, or possession thereof. So, right there it says The term vessel of the United States is a citizen of the United States, basically. Interesting. Some case law. Maybe if you've gone through the Constitution or know the preamble to the Constitution, right there at the beginning it says, "We the people." Well, quote unquote, the people does not include U.S. citizens. From a case, Barron versus Mayor and City Council of Baltimore. Alright, more case law. A, quote, citizen of the United States, end quote, is a civilly dead entity. Interesting. Alright, so that's from the Congressional Record, June 13th, 1967. Congress said that. Alright. Another quote from a case. Therefore, the U.S. citizens residing in one of the states of the Union are classified as property and franchises of the federal government as an individual entity. It says right there, if you're a U.S. citizen residing in one of the states of the Union, you are classified as property and franchise of the federal government as an individual entity. It's not very flattering, is it? A citizen of the United States is a citizen of the federal government, quote unquote. A citizen of the United States is a citizen of the federal government. That's from Kitchens versus Steele. Here's another quote from another case. The term, quote, citizen, end quote, in the United States is analogous to the term subject in common law. The change of the phrase has resulted from the change in government. So, when did the government change? Back in 1871, I believe, is when the second Constitution was written by the United States Corporation. Alright, that's just some stuff that I wanted to go over and kind of introduce you to what's kind of prompted me to make a lot of these decisions. I'm going to follow up more with you guys. We're going to talk about naturalization a little bit, how you can confer nationality upon yourself for any state or any union or so on and so forth on that subject. But yeah, if you like this content, please hit the like button, maybe even subscribe, because there's definitely going to be some more coming out. This is all about educating people and helping people get out from under the boot of the United States government, because it is a de facto government running this country as a corporation. It's like if McDonald's or Wells Fargo or, the Sports Authority or some company was running this country. It doesn't really bode well, I don't think. Anyway, smash those buttons, and we'll be back soon.